Right, go live. Yes, we are live, Kevin. We are live. Perfect. Hey
Hey,
guys,
now
we have 24 viewers waiting, so we are now live.
good to be here. I'm just sending a
Yes,
message
yeah.
letting
So YouTube
everyone
is
know.
fine.
Okay,
Perfect. We are great. So hey guys, thank you for joining us. There might be a few seconds lag, but we are finally, getting the show on the road. Once again, I'd like to thank all of you, whether you're watching on the control panel or whether you're watching on YouTube. Thank you for joining us in this live special The Sound of a Crowd podcast. Season 2 finale, and I'm really, really excited to have Kevin Brewerton on the show. Yeah, if you are on YouTube, if you want to drop us a message or you want to call in live during the Q&A, yeah, just make sure you just head over to thesoundofacrowd.com/live. The link is in the live chat description box. So if you're on YouTube, if you smash that link, it should be able to take you to the chat control panel where you can send us a message, or you can call in later on the show when we open up the Q&A in just over an hour's time. And then also, if you are already in the podcast session on Riverside FM, thank you. You should have front row seats to this wonderful show that we're about to get off the road. And yeah, once again, if you haven't listened to the Sound of a Crowd podcast, my name is Adrian Daniels, and the Sound of a Crowd podcast is the show. It's a powerful show where we chat with colorful creatives and entrepreneurs from a Ghanaian background, all have an interest to Ghana, bringing you one step closer to Accra, wherever you are. And the whole idea of the show is just to promote global Ghanaian excellence. And of course, Kevin ticks that box. And we're just going to get into his show in just his stories. Apologies, in just a moment. Kevin, first of all, I'd like to welcome you to the show. Thank you so much for coming on. How are you feeling?
feeling good. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Excellent. Excellent. And how's the it's quite funny because it's quite contrasting weather. So in the UK, sorry, contrasting time. So right now is nighttime in the UK, and obviously it's like morning time for you in the LA. So you're
Yeah,
getting up, and I'm going to bed shortly. The
that's right. I'm just starting my day. I'm having a cup of tea.
Hey, I hope you guys can see his mug. He's having his cup of tea. I'll be having, my tea, as they said in England, right? Because he grew up in England.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course. There you go.
absolutely. Yeah.
That's what me too.
All right. So for those of you who do not know much about Kevin, just in simple terms, so Kevin is a 5 times world champion kickboxer. He's also been involved as an actor in Hollywood. He's done some well-known films such as The Fifth Element, Woman in the Red Dress, and so on and so forth. But more recently, he's become more of an artist, a visual artist, and an author, and even a photographer as well. And I think one thing for certain is that Kevin, I think this is one thing you definitely actually say on your own website is that you actually think that life essentially is an art form, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yes, life is an art form. Everything is kind of, I mean, a reflection. And I think that I've always said that artists are the teachers of humanity because so much humanity is in art. And if you try to think about what a world would be like without art in it, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a reflection of ourselves and a reflection of our inner spirit, soul. So it's just it's there talking to us all the time, and it's definitely impacted my life.
That's just a wonderful statement. Um, and one thing that I notice is that everything that you've been involved in, which we're going to go into in a lot more detail, whether it's the martial arts, the fighting, Hollywood, acting, directing, writing books, painting, whether it's photography, those are all kind of different types of actual art forms, whether we see it or not. And I just find that really fascinating how you've been able to move and transition yourself in all of those different aspects. And I find it quite, and I think it's quite common with a lot of people who have been in the film industry, or they've been in the fighting sports industry or fighting industry, what have you. They've managed to get themselves in a different, whether it's a film career, or they've managed to, you know, write a book about themselves. And I think it just takes having one solid art form to then move into another one, because once you've achieved it, it's like, okay, I want to go on to the next thing, I want to go to the next thing. All right, so I'm not going to waffle too much about all of this art form stuff. We're going to get more into that. Let's get straight into Kevin's story. So if you guys don't know already, so Kevin has actually come out. Before we get into the book, Kevin, okay, so our listeners know quite a bit about you already, right? They may have done your homework. Tell us one or two things that we don't know about you. Any interesting facts that we don't know about you already?
Oh, that's dangerous.
Come on. Are we gonna get one thing out of you? You're gonna come and
put me right on the spot.
Right. Yeah, I have to.
You put me right on the spot there, man. Come on. Yeah, totally. I don't know. I'll just give you a brief kind of overview.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there are people here that don't know my story. And okay. If you do know it, I'm going to tell you some of it again. Maybe you haven't heard it this way. But I was born in Newcastle upon Tyne, which is a coal mining town in England.
Yeah.
And shipbuilding town. And my grandparents raised me, because my mother was only 15 when she gave birth to me. And
your mother was
white.
15.
My mother was white. My grandparents were white.
Fascinating.
And I grew up thinking I was
15, 16.
15,
okay.
Maybe 15, 16, around that age. Yeah. So they raised me with the understanding that I was their son. So I thought that my mother was my sister. That was all. That was the premise of my childhood. And then when I got to the age of 12, 13, they told me that I was
okay.
My father. I learned that my father was African, and I found out that my sister was my mother, and it was quite confusing for me at the time. So that kind of was my adolescent kind of beginning in how I got started, and that led me into doing martial arts, because I think I was looking for a form of expression, a form of trying to find my place in the world, or as a teenager, trying to like fit in and trying to be part of society. So
thank you.
That's
we'll take the overview over the other facts that we don't know about Kevin. I see you trying to hide, but it's all right. We'll let you off, all right, Kevin? Okay, so let's move on to the book, okay? I guess we've got the icebreakers out the way. So for those of you who don't know about the book, so Kevin's new book, These Are African Hands, The Journey of a Champion. So this book will be coming out on the 28th. It's the 28th, right, Kevin? The 28th of March. Are you still with us, Kevin? You still with us? Kevin, you still with us? You're here. Okay. Okay. We've got someone calling in. Let's let them in. I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me, Kevin?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Kevin, we are gonna do something different. We're normally gonna take the Q&A at the end, but we actually have someone calling in with a very, very interesting question. Should we let them in? Are you happy to let them in? This is your show. Okay, let's let them in. So we got Paul calling in. Let's let them in. So Paul, what you'll need to do is you would actually need to use, you need to switch to Chrome browser.
Hello.
So if you're on the iPad, you need to download Google Chrome. All right. You would need to download Google Chrome so that you can ask Kevin the question that you have. Okay. Okay. Right. So while Paul's trying to get himself sorted out, we're just going to continue on with the show. But just want to let everyone know, if you want to call in, make sure that you are using the Google Chrome browser, because if you do not use the Google Chrome browser, it will not allow you to call in, unfortunately, because of the technology we're using. So I'm gonna just put a message for those on YouTube. Make sure you use the Google Chrome browser to call in. Okay, but that was a really good question from Paul. So Paul, once you have your iPad on Google Chrome, please call back in, and then we can obviously take your question. Okay, so we're gonna disconnect him from the call. Perfect, and let's continue on the show. So yeah, once again, guys. So where were we? So we're talking about your book, right? So Kevin's book. These are African Hands. The launch date is 28th of March. I'm aware. Yeah. That's right. March 28th.
That's right. March 28th. The book's available right
Okay,
now.
it's pre-sales.
If anyone wants.
Okay, so I think you guys can see the book on the screen. So we have the book on the screen if you guys can see it.
Yeah.
So that's just a picture of the book. If you guys would like to, order it, purchase it, just head over to theseareafricanhands.com. Is that correct, Kevin? theseareafricanhands.com. So make sure you head over to theseareafricanhands.com and you will be able to get your hands on the book. But we do have a special giveaway for one of our viewers who do call in or send us a message on YouTube, or you can send us a message on the podcast session, because I now have access to the YouTube chat. So you can actually now put a message in the YouTube chat if you wanted to, as well as the podcast session. So that's just the image of Kevin's book, which is now available. So let's go straight into your book. So Kevin, I love how you name the chapters by rounds. I just find that so interesting. Was that your idea?
Yeah.
It was your idea. Okay.
Well, it made sense for me to do that because, I, being a fighter, rounds are very important in my life, so I always think, make the metaphor of fighting and everyday life. So we're kind of going through different rounds each day, or, as we progress through rounds.
Yeah.
Through the rounds.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
That was my.
I actually have a friend who's. Go on. Sorry, I interrupted you.
But I also, the book is in three. The book is in three. No problem. The book is in three parts. There's three parts to this book. The rounds, which deals with the adolescent years, and then it's a coming of age story. So it's the rounds, round one, round two, of this kid going through his life, up to fighting to two other, which is the actual fights themselves, and then also discussions with a fighting champion. I won't. Not that I can't, but I just think it's
that's okay.
Interesting. You'll figure it out when you read it. A discussion with him throughout the book, which is mostly like where I am now. So you get all the three dynamics of the story, and that's kind of, I think that's where the power of the story lies.
And I think that's the conversation, Kevin, that we were having offline. That the way the book starts is it just grabs you in. I mean, the book starts where pretty much where your current life is at the moment. I don't think I want to ruin too much about it. For those that haven't read the book, we are going to do a book giveaway. But the way it starts is that where you are currently in your life, I believe so. And, actually, I might just mention it actually. So the way the book starts is so Kevin goes into I believe it's a mental clinic. And then there's a conversation that's about to take place. And someone wants to introduce Kevin to this person as champ, but Kevin doesn't actually think that's necessary. Kevin's more focused on the purpose behind his visit to the mental clinic, and he's more on the meaningful and the purposeful visit that he's made, and it just hooks you in. But then when you continue to read the book, you actually go into your childhood, right? So obviously, the first 2 pages is talking about more or less your current life, and then when you go into the third page onwards, I believe, or the second page onwards, what happens is that it then takes the viewers right to the kind of the beginning of your life, where you were when you were living in England, where you were growing up in England. And what's quite interesting is that we've just come out from a year of 2020 where racism was racism or what have you has been at an all-time high with the whole George Floyd incident that's taken place in America. And then your book takes the readers through a scene where you're getting racially abused, just as soon as you've got to school, being called blackie or whatever. And that to me, I think that to me got me thinking, is that the reason why you kind of got into fighting, because you wanted to defend yourself from the people in school, the racist people in school in England when you were growing up in primary school, who wanted to have a fight with you?
No, that wasn't. I mean, I think that was part of it, but not much. I think that for me,
Yeah.
my issue was the the racism really for me was minimal. Uh, you see it in the beginning of the book, so you see the tone that it does exist, and it did exist for me, but overall, it really wasn't in terms of racism, hardcore racism, what people can deal with. I received a lot of love and a lot of support in Newcastle, but for me, it was about trying to find my own place. I just didn't feel like I fitted in, and it felt like I was there was something that wasn't connected, and that is a searching for yourself, searching to find where your tribe is, where you fit in, what's happening, and especially as an adolescent, as an
Yeah.
adolescent,
Okay.
you're trying to prove yourself. You're 13 years old, 14, you think you know everything. You think we know everything, right? So, so I think for me that was one element, but the other element is that I think I had some anger to get out, as a lot of teenagers do. A lot of that was coming from the fact that when my parents told me that I was with my grandparents, and then my sister was my mother, that can definitely lead to and feeling.
Yeah.
The irony of it is the people you love the most, you also unconsciously feel betrayed. So that dynamic exists within the book, and I try to write that in the best way possible, because it's not as simple as saying you betrayed me. You don't feel that. You feel like you love them just the same, and they love you just the same, but something inside is operating. And
Yeah.
so I think that anger had to be, and resentment had to be expelled. And to do it in a physical form is a great way to do it, because, when I train or teach kids or adults in martial arts, able to
Mm.
express themselves through physical action and discipline
Yeah.
of the fight, the style of fighting.
Okay. Okay.
So that's
A
how it helped
question
me in a
popped
great
into my
way.
mind about martial arts. I do remember reading a book and, finding out that, it was karate that you were practicing. And the question that popped into the mind is, how did you make the transition to karate to kickboxing, kung fu?
Well, it was
Mm,
kung fu. It was kung fu, but they're very similar in lots of ways. And then at the same time, they're not. So, they're they're very similar. Chinese kung fu, traditional kung
yeah,
fu is
yeah.
is very, it's what you see in the films, right? It's and then boxing is kickboxing is the sports aspect. So it was very easy for me to translate, to cross over
Hmm.
from traditional martial arts, and that's my basis, and then go into kickboxing because it just works very well. And to have something to compete for and to something to push and drive you towards, being able to do it in a sport and aspect gave me a something to drive myself towards, and that was you know
Yeah,
how it worked for me.
perfect.
Those two
I
systems
want
working
to, Kevin,
together.
I want to go back to when you, sorry, there's a
I
little bit
also
of a
think
lag.
that
So I think
yeah,
it's safe for
sure,
me to kind of wait for a few seconds before responding. So I'll let you continue,
yeah,
Kevin.
sure, sure. Um, and with the martial arts, for me, I mean, you're trying to escape. I mean, for many, as I said earlier, growing up in a coal mining town in Newcastle, there wasn't many people of color. So when you find out that your father's from Africa, and then you want to associate with people like you, and you realize that your skin, I mean, it's impossible. How could you think that I? It's crazy that you can think, how could this
Yeah,
kid not know he's not brown skinned, right? How could he think he's white? But when you're raised by pure love from your grandparents, and you think you're the same as they are, and
yeah, yeah.
it's just love. There's no color to it, right? And then when you find out later that your father's African, and you are a little different now from everyone else, you, you need to find those people. So a big search for me was looking in Newcastle for people of color, so I could associate myself with, so I could find out. I think that most of what we're doing
Yeah.
is finding out who we are. This is what we are, and this is what happens in life. We're moving along, trying to discover who we are.
Hmm.
That's what we do on a day-to-day basis, even whether we know it or not, whether we're unconscious of that or
Mm.
not, because we're trying to find ourselves. And I mean, if you look at
Hmm.
it on a spiritual level,
Mm.
we're trying to find the self. That's what we are trying to find. And whether you're a martial artist, or whether you're a priest, or a meditating in a temple, or whether you're a interior designer, or whether you're, that's a good one, an interior designer, designing interior, or whether you're an
Yeah.
actor, or whether you're whatever you are, whatever your station is in life, that is your vehicle to in which to discover and work through, to learn lessons, and to work on,
Mm.
you're working on yourself through whatever your profession is, and ultimately it's to find out more about who we are. Do I know who I am? I maybe I know more than I did when I was 15. I know more than I did 2 years
Never
ago,
ends. It never ends.
but I'm
But
still
I
learning,
think this is the great thing that,
yeah,
I mean, finding your father, I mean, that was one piece of that puzzle of finding yourself, right? Because your father is obviously as part of you, and you have your father's DNA. And I remember we had that Zoom conversation last week, where I could relate to you on so many levels with so many different things. I mean, I did a little bit of martial arts university. I went through some periods of
yeah,
anger when I first discovered who my real father was. Because similar to you, I first discovered who my real father was. When I was a teen. And I think that got me angry. That he wasn't around. But then I kind of got raised up with pure love as well, because you know my stepfather who raised me up, even to this day, I still see him as my real father, because it was pure love. And even going to primary school as well, pure love. I was probably one of the few black kids in the whole entire school, and I didn't really see color. I mean, I didn't see black and white. I just saw all of us. And that's why I told people one of my favorite times in my whole education kind of career is primary school, because it was just almost complete bliss. No racism, no nothing. It was just great memories. But yeah, finding yourself is, all of these different pieces of the puzzle, family, career, business, you name it. These are all important components of finding yourself, and then also what you do, how you react to certain stimuli, as you said, anger, how am I going to express that anger? So rather than you being bullied at school, rather than that being the result of you fighting, it was more of the anger. The anger was a way, it was an outlet, martial arts was an outlet for you to express that anger. And as a result, it's manifested itself in lots of beautiful ways of art forms, whether it's your books, whether it's your painting, whether it's your movies, and so on and so forth. I totally understand where you're coming from. I totally understand where you're coming from.
Sure, sure. Well, someone, thank you. And it's so important to, be able to express ourselves because, we all need to be heard and we all need to be seen. And, that is a big part of the journey for all of us. I think in some ways, there are so many unconscious levels that are driving us in our lives. And it takes a long time to figure that out, what those things are sometimes. I think for me as well, a great part of it was my grandparents were, my grandfather fought in World War II. He was a prisoner of war, and he had a lot of PTSD. And he used to beat my mom up a lot. There was a lot of,
Oh man,
a lot of fighting in the house.
sorry to hear
And
that.
I saw my mom get hurt quite often, just
Yeah.
throughout my childhood growing up. And there wasn't anything that I could do about that. So what I really believe that I was also championing her in as a fighter, what I couldn't do as a young boy when I would just stand frozen watching the violence. What I couldn't do as a young boy, I was able to transfer into the ring and kind of it's like a delayed response, but my reaction to what I used to see as a child. And that was, I think, a very powerful element that was driving me too. There's
Wow.
many
So
things,
another
but
another
that
thing
was a
that
big one.
motivated you to kind of become this champion fighter was not only anger, but it was also seeing, your family taking hits and you being younger and not being able to necessarily defend them or help them. It kind of put that kind of need in you to kind of develop this fighter mentality, this fighter spirit, this fighter kind of skills to be able to maybe hopefully defend, people that you love in future. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the greatest force, it may sound like a cliche, but the greatest force and power is love. If that's motivating you, then what makes a great fighter? I'll tell you what makes a great fighter.
Yeah.
It's not their technique. It's not how fast they are. It's not how hard they
Yeah.
train. It's not
It's
how
the heart. Yeah.
how strong they are. It's it's the
Yeah.
heart. It's the heart. If you have the heart of a fighter, you can't be stopped. You can't be because that's what we always say in the fight game. He's got a heart, kid. That kid's got a heart. And anyone with a heart, you can't stop that. And that's the greatest force that you want to be driving you. And if that's
100%. I
driving you
totally agree with you,
throughout your
Kevin.
journey, you're
I
gonna
mean,
make it no matter
The
what.
Bible says, we have faith, hope, and love, but the
Yeah,
greatest of these three
yeah,
is love. And you know, love is a powerful, it's a powerful force. It's like a drug. Like it just, it pushes you to do things that you never expected that you could do, or you never thought that you would do as well. Something popped into my mind when you were talking about, you know, just your motivations behind, you know, fighting, or how powerful love is. This might sound cheesy. I'm a huge fan of the Rocky fighting series. I'm sure you might have thought this may have come up, but there's one particular, I've watched all of them, but there's one particular line actually, that Sylvester Stallone says in Rocky Balboa. I think he says is it's not how many times you get hit, it's how many times you can get up after taking hits, right? And I think it's just, it just kind of sums all that up, right? Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, let me
Yeah.
say, let me
Go on.
answer this. Let me address that. Let me address
Hmm.
that. Well, the Buddhists, okay, the Buddhists say never give up. That's their motto. If you're a Buddhist, then we all have
Mm.
the Buddha
Never give
spirit
up.
within us. Is never give up. And in the Japanese, have a saying which is nanakorobiya oki, which means you go down 8 times, you get up 9 times. I might be wrong on the numbers. It might be 10
Yeah.
times, you get up 11 times. But the bottom line is, you go down, you get up, because that's the spirit.
Mm.
That's the spirit of humanity, really. Because we are here, and look at humanity. Look how far, how many through the centuries, what we've gone through, how many wars,
It's remarkable, isn't it?
how many, just look at it. And then how we've managed
Certainly
to live.
has.
Life has to go on.
Says
Life has to go on.
certainly has.
So this is, yeah. So I look at it as, it's a huge, like, it's a trauma that we're responding against sometimes in this life, because it's passed on through our generations. I mean, we talk about my
Yeah.
grandfather, who was traumatized from World War II, and probably traumatized from things before that as a
Hmm.
childhood. And then you go further back into the medieval days, where people were slaying each other on the battlefield with the fighting for Christianity against the Muslim world, and all these things. We go back through history, and just how those have been carried on through life. And we are at the forefront of humanity now, and we're carrying all that history behind us, is within us right now, because it's all part of it, the same thing. We are part of the same thing.
I can't agree
So
with you more.
we're at the forefront, and we are yeah, so we are going into,
Mm.
if we can have this type of conversation, then we can help to heal ourselves. Now I'm going off on a
I know.
bigger conversation here. It's much bigger than the book,
It is connected
but
because we're fighting for everything at the
it's
end of the day,
connected
right? Whether
somehow.
it's for
It's
climate change,
definitely
whether it's for
connected.
our rights, for freedom, um, so many different things,
Yeah,
you know. And I think we've
yeah,
definitely seen that, you know, since 2020.
yeah,
I've seen a number of messages come in the YouTube chat. I'm just going to read
yeah,
them. Unfortunately, I can't put them on the screen, but when we have call-ins soon, you should be able to see some live interaction with other guests. So we have a
yeah.
message from Christian Leon. I don't know if you know him. He's saying, "My brother, that's a loaded question, huh?" We also have Tony Charles. He says, "Hey Kev, way to go," from Graham and Tony. We also have Keith Newman. Did you want to say something?
Key. That's a
Yeah.
key. That's a key.
Yeah.
Keep
Those of
moving.
you who have tuned
Oh,
in from
my
America, I've seen a
friends,
lot of
thank
people
you,
who
thank you,
signed up for
thank
this
you.
event are from America. A lot of you, thank you so much for joining us. We got people all over the world. We got people from Ghana, from England, from the UK. So many of you from all over the world. Just thank you so much for tuning in. Yeah, so Keith Newman says, well said about being brought up on love and color didn't come into the equation. That's very, very true. And yeah, yeah.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Let me just address that. Thank you,
Okay.
Keith. Because let me tell you about Newcastle. They got soul, baby. Newcastle has soul. Okay,
Yeah.
they've got a real soul. Every city, every place has its own soul, right? Newcastle has a soul. Do you know that Muhammad
Really?
Ali got
You learn
married
something every day.
in Newcastle?
Okay.
Just up at, I think, South Fields or something. Yeah, he went to Newcastle. He went to Newcastle. He says
Oof.
he'd never received
That's a
more love in
statement.
his life than
That is a
anywhere
statement.
from the people of Newcastle. Yeah, Ali said that. Um, and Douglas,
Go on.
what, I'm blanking right now, but Douglas, forgotten his name. Roderick
Oh,
Douglas.
Kevin,
No,
what's
I'm
happened?
wrong on the name, but we have in
He's just
Newcastle.
disappeared. Okay, so Kevin's just disappeared. He should be coming back in shortly. I don't know where he's gone. He's just disappeared, but he should be with us soon. In the meantime, I can see Lasima Pink. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the fan love. Chris Berkey, we're gonna let Kevin know that you're in the chat as well. Just want to remind you guys, you can get Kevin's book by visiting theseareafricanhands.com. And also, this is the link in the chat. I'm just pulling, so you should be able to go directly to his website and join him from there. Okay, so we're gonna just wait for Kevin to join us. I don't know what happened there. We just lost us. Let me get my phone, see if he's gonna rejoin us. If not, I'm going to drop him a message, and he should be with us very shortly. In the meantime, if you've just joined, welcome to the Sound of Accra season 2 finale live. We're with Kevin Burton, who is 5 times kickboxing world champion and a Hollywood actor, director, and he's also the author of his upcoming book, These Are African Hands, The Journey of a Champion. So Kevin's just disappeared, so we're just gonna drop him a message and just see where he's from, where he's gone, and we're gonna try and get him back into the show as soon as possible. Please do stick around, because we are gonna dive deep into his story, and then also we're gonna have the Q&A shortly in just a moment. So just do bear with us. Dropped out. And yeah, feel free to get your YouTube comments in, as well as we now have access to YouTube live chat as well. Okay, let's see if we can get Kevin back. Let's get Kevin back in. Let's get Kevin back into the show. What's happening? Thank you for your patience, guys, by the way. Thank you for your patience. We do apologize about this. You've got to love tech. Yes. Yes, Alinson's photography, you've definitely got to love tech. I wonder what's just happened. So we're just getting to the climax of the conversation, and this Kevin just drops off. He's not picking up the phone. Let's see if he comes in. Uh, any any news from Kevin? No. What's happening? Drop a message in the chat if you can still hear me. Just want to make sure this is still streaming in YouTube. Okay, give me a yes, Adrian, or I can hear you or an emoji, that would be much appreciated as we try to get Kevin back into the show for you. Thank you so much all for you. Thank you so much all for your patience. We're just working to resume the show and get this over and done with. Thank you, Alinson's Photography, that you can still hear us. So I'm not going crazy. The YouTube is still going fine. Let's get Kevin back. He's not going to leave us easily. he's not picking up the phone as well, which is quite interesting. Let's give him another ring. Hi, Kevin. Kevin.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you having issues? Because you just disappeared.
Yeah.
Is everything?
I'm having issues right now.
Okay. Are you? Is it not letting you back into the show or?
Well, it's just like it's just frozen. Everything's frozen here.
Okay. Is that your computer?
No, it's not the computer. It's just saying hang up now if I want to hang up. Or
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Hang up, and then come back in and see if it lets you in.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll do that now. Yeah. All right.
I'll stay in the line with you just because I want to see if it works.
Okay.
Yeah. Hang up and then
All right,
come
I'm
back
hanging
in.
up right now.
Okay. Hang up and come back in.
I'm hanging up. It's taking forever to hang up even.
Really? Okay. Do you think your Google Chrome browser's crashed? Okay.
I'm sorry?
Do you think your browser's crashed?
Maybe, I don't know. It's just I've got the right browser on. Everything should be good.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Or just quit the session and then just quit your browser and then reopen it and then come back in. I think your internet was kind of in and out because like sometimes the quality was clear, sometimes it wasn't. So I don't know if it's internet issues as well. Yeah. So just maybe come out the session. If it's not allowing you, just close the browser down and maybe reopen it and see if that works.
Yeah. I'm doing that right now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's slowly happening.
Yeah.
So I'm coming back in now. Maybe if you're still connected, maybe you need to let these guys know that.
Yeah, I've been letting them know. I've been letting them know. Everyone's very responsive on the chat. Everyone's waiting. I can see the viewers haven't really dropped back that much. So I think everyone's waiting. Oh, looks like you're back in. Let me let you in. So guys, Kevin is back in. So do not go anywhere. Okay. Just waiting for you to turn your camera on and your microphone, and we should have you going.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thank you for your patience. We have Kevin back in the show. I can see in the YouTube channel as well. We've got we've got. By the way, just before we continue, Kevin, we have Chris Berkey. Does that name ring a bell to you, Chris Berkey?
Yes,
Yeah.
Chris.
So Chris
Hi,
Berkey
Chris.
says hi. We have Alinson's Photography from Newcastle. She says, "Good to hear you, Bree," from Bruce. And then
Thank you.
Newman says hi. Ruth McLeod says, "I think the historical person Kevin was talking about was Frederick Douglass." I don't know if that's yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Thank you, Ruth. Tony Charles. Okay, yeah. So it's just people just making comments regarding you leaving the show, but you're back, so that's what matters. And now our viewers have just skyrocketed since you came back. Imagine that. Okay. So let us know where you're listening from. A few people are saying where they're listening from. So you got people. So I can see Los Angeles, I can see London, I can see Newcastle, England. Drop a message in the chat if you want to let us know where you're listening from on the Sound of Accra podcast, and that will be very amazing on the YouTube channel or whatever. So right, let's get straight back. Yeah, the champ is back. The champ is back. Yeah, the champ is back. Yeah, you should be able to see all of these messages on YouTube after the show, Kevin. So don't worry, you're not missing out. All right. Okay, so let's yeah, the champ is back. That's correct. That's correct. So let's
Champ is
continue the
back.
show. So where were we? So
Yeah.
we were talking about fighting, right? You were talking about how through the history of time, how people having that fighting spirit has it's just something that's passed through time. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's passed through time. I mean, we're humans as well. We have to struggle to some degree because that's how we learn. I mean, that's how we. It's such a sad
school hard
situation,
knocks.
isn't it, that we
Either
have to
the
go through all this
hard way
stuff
or the
to
easy
learn
way.
things.
Not really an easy
But we
way.
do. I mean, look, life is what it is.
Nadine says hi, Kevin, listening from right downstairs.
The school of hard knocks, you know, the hard way or the easy way.
Yeah.
That's
We
my
have
neighbor,
Richard
Nadine.
Devani.
Thank
Richard
you.
Devani says,
I'm blood. I got to
yeah.
thank all of my friends and all
Thank
of
you, everyone. Everyone that's tuned
I
in to
have.
support Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Richard Devani says, hi, Kevin. It's the
Ah,
truck.
the
Can't wait for
truck.
the
We
book
call
and
him
what
the
a
truck.
massive influence
Yeah.
and light you've been for many people from Devon. Excellent.
Thanks,
Excellent.
guys.
So yeah, let's continue on. So yeah, that fighting spirit that passed through time, that power of love that passed through time, is definitely something that's been translucent. That's been, existed across time in itself.
Yeah.
And going back to, I want to just take it back to like your father and then losing your grandmother. So
Mm.
you're talking about how I believe it was your grandmother, right? That was getting beat up, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm sorry to hear, that she had to go through that, and then eventually, you
Yes,
lost her.
yes, that's right.
What stage at your life were you, and how much did it impact you to the extent of where you are today?
Mhm. Well, it was an interesting time because I had just returned from Ghana. You know, just picture this young kid, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, looking for his father, 17, 18, all these years, becoming a fighter. And I eventually
Yeah.
got to go to Ghana when I moved to Los Angeles, and I
Wow.
went to Africa looking for my father, thinking I had found him, but it wasn't him
Yeah.
when I got there, and it was quite devastating for me because if you think about the thing it's like looking
It's a
for the Holy
false.
Grail, and you know you can and you get there and it's not there. It's like what? So
Sorry to hear.
I came back to London, and when I got back to England, my grandma died, and you know, she. It was the impact of those two things that really kind of hit me hard, and I felt like I needed to do something. And at the time, I
Mm.
was seeing a lot of Laurie David, who is Larry David's wife at the time. And she was such a inspiration in terms of she really champions, and she champions the planet. She's a champion here for this earth. And she said, "You didn't find your father? Oh my God, you got to write a book. If it can't be a book, it's got to be a book." Okay, so I said, "Yeah, that's a good idea," because I'd always had the sense that I would write another book, and so that was how the book
Wow,
was
22 years ago
birthed, and I started to
in the
write. It took me
making.
years. I started 22 years ago
That's
writing
somebody's
the book,
age.
and I didn't know how to write at the
Yeah,
time. 22 years.
powerful, powerful.
Um, yeah, I started writing just journaling,
Hmm.
journaling, and then I start trying to put it
It's
into
like some
structure.
people.
took several years to do that, and then I realized that I don't know how to write.
It's an art. Art, right? This is a common
But
theme of
I mean,
today,
I can
right?
write, but
You know,
like
it's an art.
writing,
It's another art form.
structuring, and learning. Writing is a craft, right? Like it's an art form. Like, yes, it's an art form.
Okay.
So I had to learn how to write, and I had to learn. I joined an amazing writing group with Lisa Doctor, and we met every week for several years, and we'd read pages of
Mhm.
our. There were other memoirists and other writers, and we'd read pages from our books, respective books that we were writing, and it really. I learned really there how to translate the voice of the heart onto the page. And because I'm an
Okay.
actor, and at the same time I was studying acting, I was with the Beverly Hills Playhouse,
Yeah.
which I'm still with, and um, Milton Katselis played a big influence on me at the time. That I found out, that's when I really learned while I was doing these things, when I was writing and I was acting and I started to paint. I realized how all of the art forms come together to support the other one. Each one informs the other. So I know by being a better painter makes me a better writer, and make me a better writer
Yeah.
makes me a better actor, and makes me a better actor makes me a better. They all kind of work for each other. And they're all kind of expressions of myself. I need to express myself in these
Ooh.
ways. I don't know how to do one thing. Even when I was doing martial arts, I was boxing and I was doing kung fu at the same time. It was it was horrible
It's
because there
tough.
was no time but pain and punishment and being disciplined and getting up in the morning and running and going to the gym and training, and it was a tough life, but I didn't know how to separate them. I needed them both to complete me. And
Yeah.
also, it pays off later. It really does pay off because it made me in my sport, in terms of that aspect combining different aspects of art forms. Um, it helped to make me I say this with modesty, a legend in my sport. I'm very modest now, but you know, just to be able to climb to the heights and to be a great fighter, and that was my dream.
Mm.
And talking about the book, that was also part of what I was. Part of me was hiding as well. I mean, I was running away from Newcastle. I was trying to find myself, and I was hiding in this world champion that I created,
Yeah.
and all the things that I hated about my life, and the things that I wasn't happy about, and the things I was fighting with all those years. And there
Yeah.
was shame. I had shame, and I had
Yeah.
anger
Yeah.
at not being able to find my father.
Mm. Mm.
Champion was also
The
F
resentments,
you. I don't
that
need
feeling of
you. I don't
resentments.
need
I
you
can
to be my
relate to you. I
father. I'm
went
going to
from
be the
some. I went
world
through
champion.
similar
I'm going to show
emotions
you who I am.
when I found out
So
who my
that
real
was
father
driving
was,
me.
even though I don't really have
Yeah.
much relationship with him, and I had the same emotions. Where were you when X, Y, Z happened? And I kind of
Yeah.
I responded in different ways.
Yeah.
Different ways to very bad ways that I'm
Mm-hmm.
not proud of.
Yeah.
But we've now kind of repaired the relationship to an extent.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kevin, I can't agree with you more. Um, you know, these things can be used for good. And it turned you into a world champion.
Yeah.
Look at yourself. Let me ask you something, Kevin. A lot of people say it's lonely at the top. Okay, so obviously,
Yeah.
you kept winning the world
Well,
champion.
yeah.
You
Mm-hmm.
kept winning the world championship. All of this euphoria. How did it feel? Like once you won it and then you won it again. Was it just the that feel good drive that just kept you going, or was it just you just wanted more? Like
Oh my God.
that's what you all say.
Let me tell you, the first world championship is the hardest one to win. Actually, actually, no. It's actually hard, but it's easy at the same time because you don't have any expectation. You're not a world champion yet, so you've got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And that's a great freedom. And I try to take that through in my life on a day-to-day basis, having nothing to lose. So when you're being too careful about losing things, you miss out on opportunities that you can gain because you're holding back. But winning the world
20,000.
championship was an amazing moment. I was in Budapest, 20,000 spectators, and it was 20,000 spectators, and it was like I felt like the world was waiting for me to come to this point. This is in my destiny, and I was just going into the last round of the fight. And every time I hit the guy, I would shout, "Thank you," because it was what I used to say to motivate myself. I hit him and I go, "Thank you." And somehow the audience heard. So every time I hit him, they would shout, "Thank you," 20,000. So I was in the center of the world right there. The world was revolving around me. And I felt like I was slowing time down, like time was slowing down, and I didn't want it to end. I was controlling the fight in every way, and I was just slowing it down. I was enjoying, like you're just enjoying
just trying to make it last
ice
as long as
cream. You're
possible.
enjoying an ice cream, and you're
moment,
slowly eating it, and you're savoring it. It was like that, and and at the same time, I wanted to win because I wanted to get there. At the same time, it was just like duplicity happening, and to win the world championship for me was to win. It's like to everything you've wanted in your life. It's more than the world championship, and it's about cultivating yourself. What's in yourself? I mean, the Buddhists would say your Buddhahood, right? Because it's like alchemy. We get gold medals not because they're gold, because we have gold within ourselves, and the gold represents who we are. Whether it's a golden crown, or whether it's a golden medal, or whether it's a gold belt you put around your waist, the gold represents the gold that is within us. So you never stop being a champion because it's always with you. It's all the things that you did to get there.
Breathtaking.
That made you who you are.
Wow. What a story. What a story.
So anyway, the world championship, what was life like after that? It was like being a rock star. You just go places and win fights all the time. It's like you have the power of the gods are rolling through you. It's like literally you have the power of the gods because you're fighting and you're like no one can touch you. You're on your game. You're going from town to city to city, parts of the world, fighting, touring, teaching, fighting, touring, teaching, fighting, touring, teaching. Rock star. and then it's a wonderful thing. So, and then teaching, and then inspiring many people. I see now how I've been able to inspire so many people in my teaching, or just as a fighter, people not knowing me sometimes, just watching me fight or seeing me talk sometimes, and then being able to inspire people without having to be directly in front of them.
Powerful imagery you've shared, Kevin.
Is a gift.
Just those statements of gold. What it took for you to to become world champion, and also the feeling and the fruits of being a world champion. Like you're invincible, nothing can stop you, and that God kind of power behind you. Just that invincible feeling is obviously that's what kept you going to the to win the the consecutive titles. Congratulations. and the 20,000 people. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me tell you,
yeah.
20,000. But let me tell the other side of that, okay? Which is when I went to Los Angeles, the city of angels, and
Yeah.
I went to
Hmm.
um, studying under Milton Casellas, Beverly Hills Playhouse, right? An acting school, and I learned. He taught the language of the fighter, of the coaches that I taught. I mean, I thought I was going to
Did
acting
acting
class. I was
come
thinking
just
that
after
it's
you
going to
won all
be.
the championships?
I didn't know what I was thinking, but I
Okay, so
didn't
this is
expect this
after.
guy
So
to
your
be
acting career
talking like the
started
fighting
afterwards.
coaches that I've had in my life. Yeah, and I was transition. Yeah, I was transitioning. I told myself after my last fight, I told myself I'm going to take all
Mm,
the energy that I
okay.
have as a fighter, and I'm never going to stop fighting. I'm just going to
Yeah.
put it into the new path of art, of acting, of
Mm,
doing these things, of expressing myself in those things.
yeah.
So I never stopped fighting. I'm always in the state, but I'm in a different form. That's how I think about it that way. So this guy's talking about being vulnerable. He says you got to be vulnerable if you're going to be an actor. And he starts telling people, I'm hearing him critique people, being vulnerable, being
Yeah.
vulnerable. And I'm like, what the hell? Who wants to be vulnerable? I'm a fighter. We're
Hmm.
talking about this. You don't show yourself. You don't show yourself. It's all about putting armor around yourself. And then by learning and teaching and learn
Mm,
how art works. Art is all about being vulnerable and exposing yourself and taking away all the armor.
mm.
So as an artist, I was able to start taking
Took it
all
all
that
off.
armor off that I put on over the years that was not serving me.
Yeah.
Open that heart. Because
Yeah.
when you got all the armor on,
That
you
is
do it so
powerful.
you
That's
protect
true. It's
yourself
like
from
a
stuff coming
barrier.
in,
Is right. It's like a
but it
barrier.
stops you from receiving
You have to
love.
take it off. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why you have to take it off. It's a barrier.
I know.
And that's what acting taught me, to look for vulnerability, which is totally the opposite. It's like crazy, right? I'm a fighter and I'm looking for, I'm trying to get more vulnerable
Mm,
as an artist, as an
mm.
actor. But that's where the
True.
power of art
Very
is,
true.
and that's where we connect
Very, very true.
because we're all flawed, every single one of us. I'm emotional because I just am right now. But we are flawed, we are flawed. And and when you share your story and we share where we are, it makes it okay. It makes it okay to see yourself and to see other people and just to share your stories. And we share these things. And that's what I hope my book will do, which is for people to see
Mm.
themselves. It truly is the story of Odysseus, if you know the Odyssey, is the hero's journey. And I feel like we've gone full circle right now. And now I'm placing the book down with,
Def-
with what I've learned from my journey. And the truth is, we're all heroes on our own journey. All of us, each and every one of us is we're the hero, and we are journeying on that path. And we got to slay the dragon. We gotta
Mm.
we gotta hit Medusa. We gotta get through the ocean that's gonna try to swallow us. We gotta get through all these tests, and then bring our stories back. And
That's
that's
it.
how
It's like
humanity keeps growing
playing
and
playing a
gaining
classic
and
video
getting
game.
further up
You know,
to different
you know,
levels.
more levels, more
Yeah.
devils. Something along the lines of that, right? The Yeah, the
Yeah.
levels more devils. Yeah, the harder the level you get, the harder the boss gets. And you just have to
More,
go through those obstacles, and then eventually,
more
once you
levels,
get
more
through that,
devils. Yeah, totally.
there's a treasure at the end, right? Or there's a reward at the end. And I think
Oh,
that reflects the journey that you've taken. That tough journey that brings rewards, you know. And I think for you
Yes,
is a
yes,
lot
for
of
sure, for sure.
delayed gratification, because it's a lot of patience to be able to, you know, participate in, you know, sports that you've participated in and other art forms as well. You know, writing the book for 22 years, the discipline to train.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. A lot of you might ask yourself, why did he take 22 years to write a book?
Mm.
It's basically, you know, there were times when I had to put it down and I had to live more life understand to understand what I was writing. I thought I was writing about trying to find my father, but after several years, I learned out that's not what I'm writing. I'm writing about how to love yourself, how to find yourself and love yourself, and just be, you know, that's what the book was about. But it took me several years to figure that out. And then once I figured out what I'm writing about, then it just takes a whole new direction. And it takes time
Mm.
to, this is why we have to
Mm.
live life. So we have to learn, you know, comes with experience. I'm not
And
saying I know
this version
everything
of the
yet.
book
I'm
that I've
still
read
learning,
so far,
but I
as I
know
mentioned to
more.
you, I've only
I
read
know enough
round
to get
one.
this version of the book out.
I can't wait to read the rest of it. Honestly, I honestly can't wait. And I think you've just, and I think you've just, you know, ended. I think you've just
You
ended this
know,
segment of the show in a really nice way.
I'm blessed. Mhm.
Hmm.
Thank you. That's great. Um, it's a total blessing. I know that my African ancestors, and not just my African ancestors, but all of my ancestors are here supporting us here because when I was 15 and 16 searching for my father and lost, I was lost. And Africa seemed so far away that here I am now in
I
2021,
know, right? That's it.
and we're
That's
on a
it.
podcast to Africa and London and America,
You got the whole world
and
listening right
I'm
now, man. You
sharing the
got Ghana
story, and
listening, you got
I'm
UK
talking
listening, you
to
got
you
US listening, and
via
probably some other
Ghana.
countries listening as well. This is what it's all about. As I told you, this is what the show is all about.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's a blessing. So I thank you, and I
KB
thank
martial
all of my.
arts.
Giving a
That's it.
shout out to KB Martial Arts in London. I'm giving a shout out to my tribe here in Los
Yeah.
Angeles, my art tribe, my spiritual tribe. You know who you are, Pappy, Brad, all the family. I give a shout out to all you guys, my kids as well, and I also want to say thank
Takes a
you
village.
to
It takes a village.
everybody because you know they say it takes a village, right? It's true. It takes a village, and to get me there, to help to get me there.
I
My
think
neighbors,
a few of them are in
everyone.
the chat,
You know who
and
you are.
okay, and that's the section we're gonna get to now. Kevin, I mean, this has been great. This has been an awesome conversation. I've got so many more questions to ask
Okay.
you. I do feel like a lot of them will be answered in the book. Obviously, I've now got your number, I've got your email address, I've got your book. But yeah, we do have a number of messages and questions in the chat. So I think we're going to use this opportunity now to open up the Q&A. If we don't have a lot of questions, then I may ask you one or two more questions before we wrap up the show, if that's okay with you. Awesome. And I know we did lose some time because of your because of
Sure.
connection issues. So
Yeah, for
we're
sure.
gonna, you know, replace that time. So yeah, if you look at the chat right now, we had some messages from Allison's photography. She says, "I know
Yeah.
Paul. I've not seen him since we were 16 years old, and he looks the same." We have Tony Charles says, "Hey, there's Vader, the cat." Yeah, because you have the cat walking past you. Alan Doran
Vader's
says,
right there.
Buddhism
Yeah.
says that
Yeah.
we are perfect as we are, but we can improve.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Vader.
Interesting. Interesting remarks. Feel free to get your questions, your comments in the live chat on YouTube or in the podcast session if you have the link. We are now going to open up the Q&A. I have seen a couple of questions in the YouTube chat. We're going to answer those first. If you do want to, call in live, visit thesoundofaccra.com/live, and that link will bring you straight to call in live, or the link is in the YouTube chat description on the live chat. I pinned the link on the YouTube live chat. If you do want to call in and ask Kevin a question live on the show, do not be shy. All right. So let's get straight to it, Kevin. So I don't know if you know Paul Stewart. I don't know if you know who this is, but maybe you do know him. So he was saying, do you ever get older? What is your secret, champ?
Yes, of course I do. Yeah.
All right.
I don't know how to answer.
Just keep doing your thing.
I don't know how to answer that. I just keep doing. Just keep doing my thing. Just keep doing art. And we had some great times. Paul and I went down to part of in the book we go through inspiration of Muhammad Ali and how I was throughout my life, inspired by him, and how I was sad when I devastated at certain points when I lost the opportunity to see him when I was a teenager. But then Paul, he was with me when we finally did go and spend some time with Ali.
Thank you. So we have
London,
Kelly Bunyan calling in.
A monumental
we will answer any more questions in the YouTube chat shortly. Let's let Kelly in.
Yeah.
Okay, Kelly. So I believe you need to be on a Google Chrome. Hey, Kelly. Can you hear us? I think she's muted. Hold on. How do I unmute her?
You're muted. Hey.
Okay, Kelly, could you? Oh, she's gone. Where's she gone?
You're muted. Yeah.
She just disappeared. She gonna come back? Kelly, do call back in when you do get a moment. For those of you that want to call in, make sure you're using Google Chrome browser. For whatever reason, it only works in the Google Chrome browser. Don't ask me why. All right. Until we see another call from Kelly, we're gonna go to the other question. So Paul Stewart says, has your success as a martial artist inspired you to realize that you can take that knowledge into any walk of life on how to be a success?
Oh, yes. That's a great question. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything I do has martial arts in it. When I'm acting, I'm a martial artist. When I'm painting, I'm a martial artist. When I'm writing, I'm a martial artist. Whatever I'm doing, it has martial arts in it. That was my base of discovery and learning how to, when you master something, those same tools are used to master anything else.
True.
It's all the same, but just in different art. Whether you're even just loading up the trash paper, I'd just still be the greatest, So
yeah,
it's the person, not the thing, not the vessel. It's not the vessel, because we're the water. As Bruce Lee would say, be like water. So we're like water, right? You pour it in a cup, it becomes a cup. You pour it in a glass, it's a glass. You pour it in a bathtub, it's a bathtub. But the water is the same, but the vessel changes.
It's the same. It's the same substance, but in different forms. Yeah.
Yeah.
Powerful.
And a big shout out. I want to say, I don't know if my friend Alan Barton is here or not, but I want to share this. Thank you, Alan, because Alan, I've had, and Carol Mangione, if she's listening right now, and other people who have been looking at my book over the years. But Alan gave me a great note in terms of editing my book at some point a few years ago, a couple of years now, and it truly helped to elevate the book to another level. So I thank him for that, and also thank my my editor and co-publisher, Andrea, who has been incredible in helping me get this book to publish the point of publication, and helping, you know, polishing it up and editing this book in a awesome way. So I want to just recognize her for that.
I think some of them are watching. I can see Alan in the chat, and Carol. Did you say Carol?
Yeah.
Was Carol the other name? Carol's listening.
Carol,
she just put a message in the chat saying Carol Mangione. I can't pronounce the name properly. Mangione, yeah. And she just put a message in the YouTube chat saying she's listening. So there you have it. You know, big well done to everyone that's made this book happen. As I said before, I've read round 1 and I'm really enjoying it. Okay, so if anyone wants to call in live, please do so. You know, you can do that. The link is in the description box if you're watching on YouTube. It's also pinned on the live chat, or visit thesoundofaccra.com/live, and you can either send us a message or you can call in live. Just make sure you're using the Google Chrome browser, otherwise it may not work properly. Until then, I'm going to go through some other questions that we have. So if you answer the questions from Paul, there's a few other comments. Keith Newman says, if there's one thing in your life that you can illustrate to help inspire young people today, what would it be? That's a good one. Yeah.
Oh, good one. Yeah. You got to follow your heart. It's, you know, people say it all the time, but you've got to follow what you feel in your heart, what's inspiring you. You know, if you're inspired by playing football or whatever that might be, whatever's makes you want to get up out of bed in the morning and just spend most of your time to do, that's powerful. Magic. So powerful. Go with that.
I think Kelly's just called back in again. Hopefully we can hear Kelly this time.
Kelly.
Let me unmute her.
Can you hear me now?
Kelly, I can hear you now, Kelly. Thank you for joining us. You're in there.
Where do I need to be? Nighttime here, as I say. I just wanted to call in and speak on behalf of everybody listening and whoever will listen to this. You won't know Adrian. I'm just one of Kevin's students, but also a friend. I've known him for 36 years now. I started when I was 11. And the emotion you shared today and the many times you've done FAQs in my school in London, thanks for the shout out, is so raw and so pure that it just speaks beyond a place that words can describe as to how beautiful your soul is, Kevin. And you and I both share a loss that in different ways, that we've never known our fathers. And I know, because it would be indisputable, even though I've never met him, how proud he would be of you. And that's why I wanted to dial in and say that publicly in front of everybody, because I know, as all the people that are close to you do, what a good, decent man you are, honourable, and the depth you have, the power you have. You mentioned inspiration earlier. It is beyond inspiring. It's awe-inspiring. It's the vocabulary is not there for somebody as special as you. And that's what I wanted to call in and say, although I didn't know they were the words. I was just going to wing it. And wing it I do. And we all love you. Everyone who's close to you, you know how much everybody loves you. And you're a gift to humanity. A gift to humanity, without doubt.
Wow. Powerful words.
Yeah,
powerful words, Kevin.
I mean every one of them. Because Kevin, for me, was like a father figure in a way when you were young and you don't have your dad around either, and up you go with this guy. And then, of course, it became a different thing, the friendship. And yeah, that's an impact on me and on everybody, all of my training peers and all the other schools and all the your children. You're an excellent father. You can't get a better guy. I don't know one. I just don't. Pure. I'll stop because I'll go on all night and it's not about what I'm saying.
Powerful. Thank you, Kelly, for
Something? You owe you money? I owe you money. I must owe you some money. Huh?
I'll hang up and leave you to it.
Thank
And
you.
well done. This has been a lovely chat
Thank you.
tonight and insightful. Can't wait to read the book along with everyone else. Much love. And nice to meet you,
Thank you.
Adrian.
Nice to meet you, Kelly. Thank you for calling in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow,
Thank
Kevin,
you.
how do you feel?
Great. Yeah, great. You know, this is why I wrote the book, so we could have conversations like this. And, you know, I heard a quote. The Sufis are really smart guys. And they say, there's this quote that says, yesterday I was clever and I wanted to change the world. But today I'm wise and I want to change myself. So I think by doing the work, writing this book, which is all self-directed,
Yeah,
if anyone can read it.
it
And
certainly is a
benefit from
moving
it,
book, at least from
I'm
the
grateful.
introduction I've
Grateful.
had. Once again, guys, we do have the link for the book on the YouTube chat. We'll also have it in the show notes on the soundofcrowd.com. Once we do publish this episode as an actual podcast, we'll have the show notes and everything on the soundofcrowd.com. So feel free to head over there next week. And we do have the book link on the YouTube. Head over to theseareafricanhands.com to purchase or to pre-order the book. Powerful words from Kelly, who called in earlier on. And you've got to get that book. Such a moving book. You know, this is 22 years in the making. 22 years in the making. All right, let's. Yeah,
They built the
pyramids
pyramids
weren't built in
in
a
shorter
short amount of
time,
time, were
didn't
they? Rome wasn't built in a day, isn't it? And so was Kevin wasn't built in one day, was he? You know, this is years and years in the making. This is years and years in the making. And let me see who else have put some questions in the chat. We do have another question. Ooh, Alan's asked a lot of questions, but I feel like we don't have enough time. We're going to go through a couple more questions. Serubit says, do you miss fighting days? And if so, how do you reconcile? Yeah,
Can you say
sure.
that again, please?
So we have a message from Serubit. If I pronounce the name incorrectly, I do apologize. Serubit says, do you miss your fighting days? And if so, how do you reconcile?
I don't feel like I miss them because I feel like I'm putting it into my everyday practice as an artist. And, you know, fighting and art, I mean, they're both arts, but it's very much the same. I mean, I train and I do all the training. I'm not competing. But the expression is just the same. And the mind of a fighter and an artist, there's a lot of similarities. So I just feel like I'm always in that space. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. You know, I looked when I was retiring, when I was doing my last fight, I just had a whisper come in my ear and it said, make this your last fight. And I knew it would be the last fight then. I heard it in my whisper. I heard it. I get these whispers throughout my life all the time. And then, so I went out there and I put my heart on the mat, in the ring. I left it there. And then I was able to move forward into all these other things that I do without any feeling of loss.
Powerful.
Just
Powerful
of
stuff
abundance.
Right there.
Of abundance,
Honestly,
really.
that is incredible.
Yeah.
And you never had any temptations to come out of retirement, did you? Rocky.
Well, a couple of times, I think. You know, I think every fighter does. I might even call you up next week to announce a
Man,
comeback.
yeah,
I
it
mean,
never stops.
sometimes we think like that. But trust me, there's a lot to handle. Yeah, I feel like I'm operating on the same level in what I'm doing. So yeah, I don't feel like I need to come and prove anything. I think if I was to fight again, it might be fun. You never know. Let's never say never, because if I say never,
For real? Are you
I'd
kidding?
probably want to do it in a month or two. Who knows? No, I don't know. I mean, I like to keep myself open, all the doors open, because you never know. When I look at my life, there are things that I've accomplished or done that I just wouldn't have thought at the time, wasn't on my mind. So you just
Okay.
never
Okay.
really always
Okay.
know for
We got
sure.
another question. We have another question from Sentient Life. I don't know if that name means anything to you. Right now, what's the greater passion for you? Writing, creating your amazing art, or something else? Loving the session, brother, from Craig. I don't know. Maybe you know that person. You know Craig.
Oh yes, 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 thank you, yes. That's a great question, and it goes back to I feel like I need to be doing all of them to like be fulfilling who I am, who I am. I feel like I can't do one without the other, and each one feeds the other one, and it's an expression of my soul, which is like has a lot of ways to express itself. So I I like to keep all of them open and all of them relevant. And maybe sometimes I slow down on one and I'm feeding the other ones more. But the ones I've slowed down on is still there. It's still in the back. And then I bring them back. So I kind of like move them around and bring them together. And I feel good. I feel it's like speaking a different language. It's like speaking Italian, French, Japanese, Hungarian, whatever. It's like each one is a language. Yeah, it's like a language. They're languages that I
Yeah.
can speak and communicate with. Art is about communication. Art is about communicating with the world and with yourself. So it is a language. So these are my forms of language. And um, I
Okay.
wanted to say something to support that. I had it and it's gone now. But yeah, it's definitely art is a form of language. So there are just different ways. Art to different people, it's so personal as well. When people look, if you look at an abstract painting, it will mean something
Mm-hmm.
totally different to someone as it might do to someone else. And that is, if you look at art, you will see yourself in it. And that is the great healing aspect of art, because when you see yourself in it, it is a mirror to see yourself and to heal yourself.
Mm.
And we all need healing. We all need it, and whether we're conscious of that or not. And even by
Mm-hmm.
awakening your consciousness, you see, we're all sleeping. Milton Katselas used to always say, "Wake up, wake up, wake up," because we're all sleeping. And he was speaking on a spiritual level, but I didn't realize that at the time. I kind of did, but I didn't. But he's referring to everyone having to wake up. If you are humanity is trying to come out of of our darkness, what we don't know, and that's what enlightenment
Yeah.
is awakening, is waking up from not being conscious. So whether it's in a song that you hear, whether it's in a piece of art, whether it's in a dance performance, whether it's in some news, whether it's in a book you read, wherever you get the information that will just slight waken you up, all these
Mm.
small awakenings until your consciousness has grown and grown and grown and grown and grown. That's why Gandhi says, live as if you're gonna die
Powerful.
tomorrow. Learn as if you're
You
gonna
can do
live
research
forever.
afterwards.
Wait a minute, is that the right way around? Live as if live learn as if you're gonna live forever.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot more sense.
Live as if you're gonna die tomorrow. That's the way it goes.
Always, yeah.
So always getting the information, and filling yourself, becoming rich.
I can
These are,
see that in your life, how obviously your career has just
treasures.
changed into different, areas. Now you're more into arts, you're more into photography and things like that. You're just keeping yourself going, and the only difference is the context, right?
Yeah.
The art, the context of the art. Some
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But all of it is, the context of the art, but all of it is for all of us, whatever we're doing, whatever we switch and do and progress and evolve to do, whatever job that is, or whatever task, or whatever art form or craft, or whatever it is a study. It's a study of ourselves. It's a study of ourselves. So we're always learning about ourselves, really, as we go out.
powerful stuff.
Doing these things.
Okay, so I think we're gonna end it with the last question and comment. Alinson's photography again. I mean, if you know that person, are there any photos in the book? As much as I'm looking forward to reading about your life since we left school, I like to see some photos of what you've done. Okay, you know that person. Are there any photos in the book, Kevin?
Yeah. Oh man. Well,
No
I hate to
photos, Alinson.
disappoint
Sorry
you.
about that. You're
There are
gonna
no
have to use your imagination.
Sorry.
Use
Sorry.
your imagination. Yeah.
We're gonna have to get you some photographs somehow, but there won't be. They're not in the book.
That's it. Maybe version 2.
Unfortunately,
you
maybe
can have
that's
some
the next
photos in
one.
there,
We'll do a
because there are some
photographic version.
books, memoirs, biographies, etc., that do have some photos in there, of course, as you would know. So I think it'll be great to have photos in your book, just knowing that you've had such a decorative career, whether it's fighting, whether it's acting, etc., writing, art. It's very, very visual, moments that people would want to actually see. So I think it would make sense to have some pictures maybe in the second version. Alinson's is responding with a laughing emoji there. so he or she has definitely got the message. And I think I'm going to end with this last question. When you come back to Africa, when you come back to Ghana, you should come back to Ghana, man. This is actually a shirt from
that's
Ghana.
a great question.
Actually, I won't name the brand because they ain't sponsored me. Maybe in season 3 they can sponsor me and I'll mention the brands. But yeah, this is a Ghanaian style shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, good call. Well, I was just asking my friend Carol yesterday, who's on the call, the same thing. So now it's being returned back to me. Okay, that's funny.
Alison's is a he. Sorry, Alison. Alison is a he.
That's how life works.
I will mess that up. I don't want.
Yeah,
I don't
sure.
want an army coming.
Don't mess that up. Don't mess up my friends.
Yeah, we want peace, not war. Not war. Yeah.
We want peace. I think I'm going to go to answer your question. I think I will come to Ghana relatively soon, given that the world right now we're still in the pandemic. But as soon as it's probably, maybe later this year. But I'd like to do that because I think it will be a good way for me also as a reconciliation in terms of writing, having written the book, which takes much metaphorically and psychologically in Ghana that it
absolutely
will be
just let me know and I'll make sure that we're there at the same time. And I even hope to come over to the States sometime as well. I haven't been to the States for about 10 years now, obviously for various reasons. One question I was going to ask you is, when did you actually make that move to America from England? You know, was it the kickboxing that took you over to the States mainly? Yeah. Coming to
Yeah,
America.
when I was fighting, I was coming to America.
Coming to America too. Yeah, I watched it as well. Obviously, there's lots of
I
mixed
watched it
reviews.
last
You
night.
know, a lot
Coming
of
to
people
America.
not as
Yeah.
happy with it, but I'm a big fan, so I was satisfied. You know, so can't complain.
Yeah.
Yeah, put
Yeah.
it all on the table.
I
That's it. Yeah,
figured
just put it all on the table.
let's
Yeah.
just put it all on the table.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. This is
Put it on the table. But
yeah. So the
yeah, you
question
gotta
was,
love it though.
at
But
what point, at what
to answer,
stage in
what
your
was
life did you
your
actually
question
make that move
was?
to America? Because of course, obviously you were born and obviously you grew up in England initially,
Oh,
and then obviously now
okay.
you're in America, you're living, and you're living in America now. So was it the
Yeah.
kickboxing that
Yeah.
mainly took
But
you over to America
yeah,
to compete? Yeah,
well, it
yeah.
took me here. I was coming here to compete in throughout America. And I remember when I came to Los Angeles, California, I felt the energy. I mean, the different parts of the world where I feel energy, and I don't know how many of you believe in past
Mm,
lives, but you feel
yeah,
connected to certain places when you go. So it's very possible you have histories there. And in which case, I had that feeling when I came here. I wasn't conscious of past lives then, but I was thinking, I like it here. I feel connected. And when I think of my journey, I was destined to
yeah,
come here and destined to follow the path to where I am now. And I just like to be here. I liked it
yeah,
here. It was an energy, it was
yeah.
the ocean, it was the mountains, it
It's
was the
different.
nature. There's
Yeah.
nature in England as
Yeah,
well.
America. I mean,
But
there's
it's
no
just
place
different,
like
it's
America.
just everything's different in
It's just a
places.
land of opportunities, freedom. It just has so much to offer. It's like every state has its own thing going on. I've not been to Los Angeles. I've not been to California. I've been to Washington. I've been to New York. I've been to Virginia.
Yeah.
Maybe some other places, New Jersey. But I've not been to California. But I know every state has something else to offer, and it's essentially you never need to necessarily leave America because it has it all. You know, the nature. Yeah.
America is a great place. America is a very spiritual
Mm,
land, and because it's the land of Native America, the natives, and there's so much spirituality here, and there's so much. They talk about land of freedom, but at the same time, there are a lot of other things that impact it, as we probably know already, politically and in other ways, and historically too. When we look at slavery, and we look at that genocide of Native Americans, so there's a mixed number of things, and I think that's where America is. I think we're moving forward in a reorganization of a reconciliation, I would say, in the future of those things on a spiritual level. And but
it
to
really is.
just to answer your
Do you know a
question,
person
America
called
is an amazing place. It really is.
Ajare? Ajare? I don't know if that name rings a bell to you. Ajare, yeah. So Ajare says, ha ha ha.
Asia
Ajare. All
Ray,
right.
Asia,
Ajare
of
says
course.
ha,
Yeah.
in the podcast session chat. Ha ha ha. We just talked about coming to America. Glad y'all watched it.
Well, actually, let me tell you, I watched it last night because she said she was
Yeah.
going to watch it. So I heard her say that. And
Thank you,
I
Asia.
said, okay,
I
I want
mean,
to watch Coming to
apparently it's
America.
the number one
Thank you,
film
Asia.
in Europe right now. So, shout out to Eddie Murphy and the gang. We don't take too much. We don't talk about Coming to America too much, or we might get sidetracked. But yeah, I mean, there you have it, guys. That is an evening with Kevin Brereton, the amazing legend himself in the flesh. I just want to thank you for taking time out of your show. You know, even speaking to me in Zoom last week before we made this happen, and even us getting together to make this happen. To you, the awesome listeners who are watching live on YouTube or on Riverside in a podcast session. Thank you for taking your time to tune in and to contribute to the conversation. I'm just going to go through the last messages and comments, and I'll make the last kind of final call to actions, and we'll wrap up this show. Asia Ray says, love you. There you go. That's for you, Kevin. A lot of love from Allison's photography. It's Bruce Allinson. Okay, nice to meet you, Bruce Allinson. Carol says that trip to Africa will happen. Amen. In Jesus' name, that's going to happen. I want to see this man in the flesh. And then we have Sentient Life says, "Hey, Carol." Okay, I think they're talking to each other. Richard says, Richard Devaney. Hey, Richard. What an amazing podcast. Thank you, Kevin and Adrian. Thank you, Richard, for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Thank you for an amazing podcast, guys. Okay, he just keeps saying it. Thank you. He said it like 3 times. And Alan Doran says, thank you for an engaging dialogue. Pleasure's all mine, Alan. I'm glad that you've stuck around for this long, as you've been live for just over an hour and a half. Yeah, once again, and Alan says, thank you, guys. Great podcast. Thank you. Thank you also. So yeah, there you have it, guys. I'd just like to end the conversation with obviously the final call to actions. Once again, we have Kevin's book coming out. These Are African Hands. The Journey of a Champion coming out on March 28th, but you can order it now by heading to theseareafricanhands.com. Is that correct, Kevin? That's right, yeah. So this conversation is what you can expect in the book. If you don't have it already, make sure you go get that. We'll also do a book giveaway, actually. So for those of you who actually wants to get your hands on the book, I've just mentioned the name of the book. Just put it in the chat. The first person to put the name of the book in the chat will get a copy of the book. We will work something out with Kevin, whether that's the physical copy signed or a digital copy sent to you. We'll work something out with Kevin. Yeah. Kevin's going to sign a copy. How about that? Well, so whoever puts in the chat, whether on YouTube or in the podcast session chat, the name of the book in the chat, the first person will get a copy of the book signed by Kevin himself. Oh, that was quick. Oh, whoa, wow. We have KB. So, well, okay, rapid fire. Okay, YouTube exploding. And we've had Kelly. Okay, Kelly, who called in here on, just wrote in the name of the book. These Are African Hands. Congratulations, Kelly. You have won the signed copy of the book by Kevin. So me and Kevin are going to arrange that and make sure you get that book over to you. And we've seen a lot of people. We've got a Natalie's also put in the message. Natalie Mendoza also put the name of the book. But you're too slow, Natalie. I'm sorry, you're too slow. But I'm sure Kevin can arrange something. Kevin's got a copy for you. So don't worry.
I got a copy.
Don't you worry. But yeah, once again, guys, thank you all for tuning in. I really do appreciate you listening in. If you haven't heard about the Sound of Accra podcast before, you can head over to thesoundofaccra.com. You can listen to season 1 and season 2 and find out more about the show. We are also available on YouTube. If you're watching right now on the YouTube channel, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher, and all of your favorite podcast platforms apart from SoundCloud. Any final thoughts, any final words that you want to share, Kevin?
I'd just like to thank everyone for all of your support and love over the years and recently, because it's made a big
we
impact
have James
on me.
Mercer. He's the founder of Ghana Collective. He's also one of my partners. He says, thanks, Kevin. So, Kevin, you've been very well appreciated by this intimate audience. We've had a very good turnout, better than I expected. And the podcast will be out next week, guys, and you should be able to watch the replay instantly on YouTube as soon as this ends. And thank you all for coming. Thank you very much, guys. Take care. Bye-bye. Kevin, thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing this show. We had some technical difficulties at the start, but we got there in the end. We definitely